keep things simple, we can start with a couple warm-up games as we usually do. And then basically wanted to play maybe 1 or 2 odds games, and then through the lens of that to talk through and review some basic principles that we had been sort of building upon. And then sort of the last thing, I was thinking we could do either some puzzles, or I prepared a couple of positions that may also allow us to review some basic planning techniques, stuff like that. And then we can finish with like a game or two. Totally, we'll play it by ear. How does that sound generally?
All sounds good to me, man. I'm ready.
Can't believe you're actually playing.
I know.
So you know the ropes. Italian.
Yeah, I immediately made a mistake though. So.
No, this is good. This is good. Development, and you basically know the drill in these types of positions.
For the
I think
most part, yeah.
this guy's just gonna resign because he knows you're making a comeback.
He sees the name and he's already just overrun with fear.
Well, he's already put on a mask in the profile picture. He doesn't want you to like affect any part of his face. Okay, so taking on f3, by the way, we already have stuff to affect. That was a mistake. Your queen is in a really good attacking position. Can you slide that queen over so it's in an even better attacking position?
Yes, sir. Pinning right there on
Absolutely.
G3.
Get it the hell over there. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm going to turn Charlie. I can't believe you want to hear him louder. Okay, so that's actually a good move.
Yeah.
And the question is, where do you want to tuck your queen away? The queen can be tucked away, and the blankets can be put over it, but it can still be really good. So what square am I talking about here?
Well, it's not H2, right? That's not really a good square for it. It's not active, yeah?
Oh, you have a really sexy square, actually. You see that bishop on c4?
Yep.
It's pinning the pawn on f7, which means the pawn is paralyzed, which gives your queen a really sexy square.
Ah, I see. Just bringing it all the way up to G6.
Yep, exactly. Bingo. And that is a move that you used to struggle with. Now look at the... You've really matured, I have to say. It's like a completely different person I'm speaking to.
Yeah, I know. I've hit the final level. Ooh.
Okay. So he wants to intercept your queen.
Yeah.
And if you take that pawn with anything but which piece, he'll take your queen. So which piece do you have to take the pawn with to preserve the pin?
I have to take it with the bishop.
Perfect. Yeah, you're going to be making a smoothie out of his king side. So he can actually take your bishop with his queen. That would be a pretty advanced concept, which he does.
Yeah.
A little fucker. But actually you have something in store. So now you see that your queen is hanging, right?
Yeah.
Can you save your queen and also avoid losing a piece?
Well, I can just drop the queen back to G4, right?
Well, if you're already dropping the queen back, you might as well fucking take some shit while you're at it. What can the queen take?
Just taking the knight.
Taking the knight. Because remember, he took your knight. So if you were to just drop the queen back, you'd be down a piece.
Gotcha,
Now you're up a pawn.
Gotcha.
Right, miss me yet? Okay. Now it comes to mind. There is a particular plan in such positions that I know you have a particular fondness for.
Is it putting the knight on the outpost at D5?
Well, that's a plan I have a fondness for. Go ahead and do that. I'm quite impressed, actually.
Ah.
Okay, did I say the word impressed? Fuck.
I think you accidentally let that one slip.
I accidentally put on deodorant this morning, so I was like, what would a Russian trainer do? He would smell like sweat. I don't even know. It's weird how you put deodorant on now, even though you don't see anybody all day.
Yeah, I haven't put deodorant on in a fucking minute, man.
Dude, it's fucking crazy. All these remnants of like normal life. Anyways, oh, he has blundered something.
Well, there's a hanging pawn at C7, but I imagine we want some... Oh, I mean, that's a fork on the queen and
that's
the
a
rook,
fork
right?
on the queen and the rook. That's a whole fucking package.
Yeah.
Bingo. Good. So you're still pretty sharp in terms of the one-move tactics, stuff like that. That's very good. Yeah, he's kind of fucked here. So think about what you'll be doing after you take his... Well, first, perform the necessary duties. Now remember that when you're up something that involves a rook, having more rooks than your opponent, you want to open up files. So the rooks have to be alive. Otherwise, you're not going to feel their power. So how can you do that?
I was looking at pushing f4 pawn.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect.
And yeah, there's stuff to talk about here because he can take your pawn. And what are you going to take back with?
I want to take with the bishop, right? Because then I'm attacking his queen.
That's fine. You can actually take with either piece. Taking with a rook, a case could be made for that because you do want to open up files for your rooks. But I like taking with your bishop too.
Okay.
All right. He checks you, no problem. What can you do?
Yep. I just want to move the king back to h1, right?
Yep, exactly. And he's going to take your pawn on b2 and think he's the biggest shit. But that's actually helping you open up file. Okay, no, he's not. Never mind. Okay, do you want to trade?
I'm up right now, right? So
Yeah.
I do want to make these trades? Okay,
Absolutely. Cool. He's probably going to take with a knight, would be my assumption. And then that queen on d4. It's kind of annoying. Can you get it out of there?
Yeah, just pushing pawn at c3.
Yep. And then by pushing pawn on c3, if you notice your central pawns, and can he take on d3, first of all? Well, let's see what he does. No, he doesn't. So now you can continue pushing and getting his pieces out of these key squares.
No, I just want to push up the pawn again to d4 to get the knight out.
Absolutely. Get the knight out, control the center. Thanks, Nip Nip, for the bits. And now you need a simple plan. You need to decide what to do with your rooks. There is a simple thing you do with rooks when you have an open file to put them on. What do?
Stack them.
Stack them. So rook f3, rook f3 is probably the best place to put the first one because it's also sort of guarding some key squares. So let's see. Yeah, so he already curls up into a ball.
It doesn't change anything though,
Nope.
right? I still stack.
Absolutely stack them. Thanks, guys, for the subs. And then you'll have to use your pawns together with your rooks to just continue massaging his position. Thanks, guys, for the subs. So I see you've been playing 3-minute games. That's pretty good, actually. You've definitely sped up. I can sense that.
Yeah, I mean, those 3-minute games were a fucking disaster, though. I would not recommend watching that unless you're trying to throw up.
Well, I usually am. So he's attacking your pawn on e4. How can you protect that without removing your pieces from their active position?
It's just pushing the pawn up, right?
Yep. Yeah, let's see what he does. I mean, look at your pawn chain. That is what I look to get my creative juices flowing. Okay, so obviously he's threatening a queen trade, which you want because you're up material.
Yeah.
And now,
So there's never a reason to decline this when I'm up this much, right?
well, not really. We'll talk about that after the game because you've got 49 seconds.
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk about it now. So think about what you want to do now. You have a pawn on d4. That pawn is passed. If you push that pawn, you lose the pawn on e5. He takes it with his knight. Can you preemptively defend that other pawn so you can push the d pawn?
Yeah, I'm just going up to f5, right?
Yep, that's actually a perfect way to do it because you're also attacking his pawn. All right. So, in fact, you can go around and take g5 first. You don't even have to rush by pushing your pawn. Yeah, let's see what he does. And you might lose on time the first couple of games. That makes me happy to see you lose, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We're working on the... Yeah, take. And careful with your rook on g5. He might drop his knight back to e6. And he might attack your rook, so be prepared to move it. No, he doesn't. So now what can you do?
Pushing.
Yeah.
Just pushing.
Pushing that key pawn. And now you can push either the e pawn or the d pawn. It doesn't matter. I would even push the e pawn because if he takes that, you trade rooks, which is, again, good for you. Totally depends on what he does. Okay, yeah, it doesn't change anything. If he takes that pawn, his last move, g6, has allowed you to do something pretty cool. So if he plays f takes e6. Okay, he plays f6, same move.
Well, can I just take pawn
Take
and deliver
it.
check? Okay.
Yep, and then take the other pawn on f6 and do that quickly. And now, if he takes, you take. If he doesn't, okay, takes. Now you can push, push the e pawn and make So if he plays king to g7, you can slide your rook over before making a queen to preserve that rook. That'll make it faster to deliver checkmate. Okay, so get your rook away to f7, for example.
F7's better? Okay.
Yeah. And then make a fucking queen right now. You can actually pre-move. You can pre-move from
Yeah. I see. There's nothing he can really do to defend that.
Yeah, now you're just going to ladder checkmate him, depending on where he goes with his knight. Wow, that's a lot of faith in your ability to checkmate, I have to say.
Well, to be fair, though, it's 2 moves, right? I'm only going G8, and then I'm going H7. So
Yeah, unless he goes knight F6.
Ah.
So, of course you saw that. You were just testing my ability. So let's quickly go over that, just a couple of points. That'll oil the machine, then you'll jump back into the pool. So I'll invite you to an analysis board. I'm sure you've missed that as well. All right. So basically, okay. So can you see my moves?
Yep.
So H6 is already a slightly sketchy move. We'll talk about that later. Right now, I want to get the plans down, get the basics down. So this is a mistake. What should he have done instead of taking the knight?
Drop bishop back.
Yeah. So preserve the pin, very important, and it makes it a little bit hard for you to basically move your pieces around. So he takes, this move makes sense, right? You're threatening to take on h6,
yep.
And potentially you're preparing to push your pawn out to f4. This is like the sexiest move of the game, queen g6. And that's also why playing h6 really early can be a mistake, and then castling, because obviously that weakens these kingside squares. So d5 he took, and here, in your mind, you have to be like, okay, he's taken a piece. So if I don't take a piece back, I'm going to be a piece down, which is why if you're moving the queen, you better take the knight.
Okay, makes sense.
So here, now you go knight t5 outpost, take everything, open the files. Everything is very logical. The one thing I want you to tell me, what would you have done if he had taken on b2?
Wouldn't I just chase the queen away at b1?
Bingo. So rook a b1. What if he takes another pawn?
Well, then I can go take his pawn on b7.
Exactly, and you're threatening what move?
And then I'm coming at f7.
Nicely done. And the last thing, if he goes rook f8, can you chase that rook away from f8 and get to f7? Damn.
Yeah, I just bring bishop to d6.
Nice. And extra credit question, because you're answering these quickly. If queen takes d3, what is the purpose of this move? How do you defend against it?
He's attacking the bishop, and he's attacking the rook.
No, that's not what he's doing.
Do I just take rook, let him take rook, get out of check, and then go for f7?
So that would not be a bad idea. If he takes your bishop here, then okay, you have the best idea ever. The problem is he won't take your bishop. Mm-hmm. You notice that your king is now kind of weak. Yeah. So he can give you a check on e5. And it's almost checkmate. You have to go g3. He starts checking you. It's anybody's game. Okay. If that makes sense. So your default when you're forked is the first question you ask yourself, can I move over one piece and defend the other piece? That should be the way you frame this question to yourself.
Oh, I see. So bringing rook to d1.
Bingo.
Okay.
Bringing rook to d1. Attack the queen. He has to, let's say, take the pawn. Now you take the rook. You're up 2 rooks.
Okay.
So, you shouldn't panic immediately unless there's a knight forking you. That's why it's so good to give a knight fork, because by definition, like, knights are the only piece that move like that. So you can't defend. Okay, so here you took c3, d4. This all makes perfect sense. Double the rooks. And the last thing, yeah, so does this plan make sense? You're pushing your passed pawn?
Yeah.
And the move g6 is a mistake because it creates this weakness. You're undermining the f7 pawn. If he takes on e6, what do you do?
Taking rook.
There is something even better.
Deliver the check first at g6 on pawn.
Bingo.
Okay.
Then take the rook, take the pawn, promote. Perfect.
Gotcha.
Clean game. Clean game. Oh. I should reserve the cussing for when you make one of your stupid moves.
Okay, yeah, you gotta keep those in your back pocket, I get you.
Right, exactly. Otherwise they lose their meaning. All right, ready for the next one.
Okay, are we doing another one just in pool?
Let's do one more pool one, and then let's do an odds game.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Jack Frost. I feel like I've heard of this guy, except I don't know where.
Jack Frost.
No, Ryast, your opponent.
Oh, they said Jack Frost.
Ah, so he's playing the fried liver.
Yeah. So what was the defense against this? Isn't it just normal development pretty much?
So it's actually d5 because he's threatening to take your pawn, right, with his knight and deliver a fork. So you got to intercept the bishop.
Okay.
And the bottom line is, if he takes with his pawn, you're not supposed to recapture that pawn with your knight. And I'll show you after the game. I'll remind you of the key ideas. Thanks, Possible and Veronicas. So you have to move the knight from c6, and you have to chase away the bishop on c4. Where can the bishop? Where can the knight do that from?
A5.
Yep. Yeah, I'll show him the Traxler. There is a cool line where you give up f7, but that, you know.
The Traxler is what it's called.
It's called the Traxler. These chess players take themselves very seriously. I wonder, like, how many times he thought about that at night. Oh, I have a line named after me. Oh my god, Queen f3. Okay. What is this? This is what we call a bad move.
Yeah.
How do you punish said bad move?
Do I just push up pawn to attack the queen as well?
Well, why did you play knight a5?
Well, to attack the bishop, but I mean, okay.
Has
so
he moved it?
Take.
Yeah.
So I just take. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought there was something bigger I can do with the queen being out like that.
Well, I mean, I'd say taking a bishop is pretty.
It's cool. No, that's cool.
Yeah. So e4, like, okay, we'll talk about that. So now he attacks your knight. You can just move it.
Yeah. Do I want to put it back on its original d6?
Sure. That's a good square as any in the center. Then you want to make sure. Well, first of all, that knight on g5. It's kind of annoying, so I would deal with that knight first, and then I would complete my development on the king side.
Okay, so h6.
Exactly.
Okay.
And thank you guys for the subs. I'll thank you guys when I mute myself. All right. h6. Yeah, now he's a piece down. And so you can take his knight with either knight, actually. You actually don't have to, and that's a point that I'm going to hammer down. You can just continue developing as normal. Let him be the one to take your knights. Okay, that sounds weird.
So do I want to develop my c bishop, my light square bishop first to like g4, or is that just not really
No, because there's a specific reason for that. I'll torture you over that after the game, but develop your king side first.
Okay, so I'm going just e7 then with bishop. Okay.
Yeah, and the sort of general reason is you want to take care of your king's safety first, normally, but there is a tactical reason why you don't want to attack his queen. Also, I know, I appreciate the raid. You were going to buy me out with the raid, think I wasn't going to be quite as cruel to you. Boy, how wrong you are.
Amen, brother. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so now he's going to be the one deciding, do I take his knight? Which knight do I take? And when you force your opponent to make decisions, you save time, and they're more likely to make the wrong decisions.
Okay. So now I'm just going to castle.
Yeah, exactly. That was a very profound statement. You were supposed to appreciate that.
Yeah, no. It just it probably sounded a lot cooler when you were monologuing it.
Yeah, sometimes I'll deliver one of those to a student, and then I'll listen to myself, and I'll be like what the hell did I just say? What am I actually saying here? All right, so you can see how much time he's spending. He's agonizing over which knight to take, but it's actually not that important for him, from his perspective, which knight he takes. Okay, he doesn't take either. So now I'll give you a hint. Actually, you do want to take his knight with one of your knights. And you want to do that because you have a opportunity to execute a plan that you executed in the last game. It involves opening up the king side in a particular way.
Yeah, so it's taking with the f6 knight, right? And that's going to free up the...
Bingo. Exactly.
Dark tile bishop. Okay.
And also it's going to free up what other...
The queen.
Well, but there's another thing you can do. Think pawns. Which pawn does it free up? Where can that pawn go?
Are you talking about the f7 pawn?
I am. If you notice, his queen is x-rayed by your rook.
Yep. So I'm just pushing to f5. I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's a very common plan in a lot of different positions, particularly when you're up a piece. The bottom line is you want to open up the position, which I will never stop reminding you of, in order for your extra piece to sort of make its presence felt. So now what?
Now I'm just gonna freeze up the file.
Absolutely. And when he takes with the knight, notice that his queen and his knight are on the same diagonal. That should
Bishop
alert.
on
Yeah,
f5.
exactly. He's got to play f3. That weakens his king side. And when he does play f3, which I think he will, yep. Now you got to think about a way to apply pressure on that knight on e4. You have a maneuver that brings a piece into the king side, and it applies pressure on the knight. Look at all of your pieces. Which ones could apply pressure on the knight? And there's literally only one piece that can do that diagonally.
I'm a little confused. So on the king side, I'm bringing in a new piece to the attack on the knight.
You're bringing the queen in. I'll give you that in. Where can the queen go? Maneuver the queen to the king side.
Oh. So do you want her to go to what, e8 first and then slide over? Okay.
That's exactly what I want her to do.
Okay.
e8 and g6. And the queen serves two purposes. That's what I mean. When I say apply pressure, that's a general term for be another attacker too.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and basically, yeah. Okay, that actually doesn't even stop you from going queen g6. Why does that not blunder the bishop?
Because I just take it right back with queen.
No, because you take his king if you play queen g6.
Oh, right. Because it's pinned now. Jesus. Oh, boy.
Were you really saying that you would just take back a pawn that captured your bishop? Like it's no big deal?
Yeah.
Faro might cut some nuts off. So now, his knight, you have 3 attackers on his knight, and he has only 2 defenders, the pawn and the queen. What do you want to take his knight with?
Do I take with the knight first?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to keep your bishop. The bishop is a huge attacker. Then you take with your bishop, and then that F file is going to be the headquarters of your attack, basically.
Okay. So then now I'm taking bishop.
Yep. Exactly. Then you want to gain control of the F file, depending on what he does. Yeah, his position has seen better days. Okay. So now when I say gain control, oh, actually you have a really cool move. Oh, actually, yeah, you do. So you see his king on g1.
Yeah.
You want to use the other side of the board to get to his king. I'll give you a hint. It's a queen move, and it's a check.
Yeah, it's going to b6.
Yeah, exactly. Then his king has to go to h2. But that opens up the f2 square, which is a huge... It's actually checkmate in 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 or so. But it's probably going to be checkmate in 3, the way the game is going to go. Yeah, so you see what I'm saying. If he goes king h2, what move are you going to play?
I'm just bringing the bishop to d6.
There's a much better move. There's a check. And what you should be looking for is that second rank. So it is a rook move.
Oh, Jesus, here. I just bring rook to f2 then.
Yep, exactly. And if he takes it, it's checkmate. He's probably going to go king to g3, would be my guess. But if he goes king to g1, okay, yeah. And now there's checkmate in 1 move.
What?
Checkmate in 1.
It's not e3. I get taken by bishop.
No, it's a rook move.
Oh, it's just bringing the rook back to f3.
No. Rook g2.
No?
Rook g2.
g2.
Right.
Oh, I see.
If rook f3, he takes that rook. Although that's mate in 2, actually.
Oh, I didn't even notice the bishop covering h4. Okay.
Yeah, that's just a coincidence. I didn't personally know that would be the result. But that's a pretty cool attack. And I always like using the other side of the board. That move queen b6. A lot of people would miss that because they tunnel vision the king side, if that makes sense. There's a couple of points I wanted to make before we go to our odds games. and I finally get a chance to kick your ass and make you feel terrible.
Or maybe I surprise you and beat you in the odds game.
Keep telling yourself that. If you don't mind, let me just grab my coffee that I'm
By all
smelling
means,
that
man.
delicious smell. I'm going to keep you and your 11,000 viewers just waiting. Okay. So, in general, in order to avoid the fried liver, you can also develop the bishop first. And then the g5 square is covered by your queen.
Okay.
And he can't play knight g5. So knight f6, knight g5. The Traxler is this weird... Oops, sorry. That's the shit line. That's actually the worst move in the position because you lose the queen because the queen is trapped. So I mouse slipped the worst move in the position. So bishop c5 is the Traxler. I don't know who Traxler was. He wasn't a famous player. But the bottom line idea is if white takes on f7 with a knight, why does it seem like white is winning? Like if you just look at this.
You can't take the knight back and you have to move queen so he gets a rook.
Yeah, he gets a free rook. Like what the hell is black doing? But bishop takes f2 check is the idea, which is just a crazy looking move. Like where is this coming from? But I actually want you to tell me the follow-up move after king takes up. What is black going to do here?
Is he going to deliver another check on e4?
Bingo. And what does that move do? Let's say white just drops his king back. What's the big shit here? And the reason I'm asking you these questions, I'm really quickly looking up who was the first person to play the Traxler. Was it actually Traxler? I'm really interested in this stuff. But also tell me the move.
Is it because you can... is it because you bring queen to f6 and threaten checkmate?
Kind of. Yeah, I think that's actually... I don't actually know. There's people in the chat who know this better than I do. I think that's the move. It might also be queen e7. Oh, queen h4. Okay. Queen h4 is the move. Same idea. Queen out to f2. Yeah, that's the move. And there have been articles written about this. People have toiled over this for years to determine whether black is soundly attacking in the Traxler. And then some people came along and they were like, look, fuckers, like bishop takes f7 avoids this entire thing. You don't have to bother about this. All you do is you take the pawn and you withdraw the bishop. You're up a pawn, and black has no attacking opportunities. Can you tell me why this no longer works?
Oh, I wasn't doing push to talk. I'm sorry. It's because e4 is covered.
E4 is covered, exactly. And I'm just trying... I'll be doing that throughout, just trying to get you to make these small observations. Yep, that's exactly right. Anyways, so does that make sense?
Yep.
I downloaded a new version of ChessBase, so it's still doing the search. I will make the... I know your entire chat is on the edge of their seats wondering whether Traxler was actually the first person to play the Traxler. Anyways, so d5 is the move, and now knight a5. And the reason that, to him... So why is knight takes d5 actually bad? Do you remember the reason?
Yeah. I think it's you take on f7 with knight.
Damn,
king takes. You bring queen out to deliver check on f3. Yeah.
Exactly. And then this is a small problem called the king out on e6 in the opening.
Right.
And it's not that simple. White is better here. And I remember the first time I got a chance to play it. It was against... I don't know why I remember this, but in 2002 or 3, when I first started playing chess, I was obsessed with ratings. So my first rating was 803. Yeah, believe it or not, I did not come out of my mother's womb a GM. I know that's a mind-boggling realization. Yeah. But I remember, like, I think the second or third tournament I played, it was like the K through 3 California Championship. And Voyboy also, I think, played there. And I played this guy named Alex Cloud. And Alex Cloud was rated 1100, and I was so scared of him. I was like telling my dad, I don't want to play. I'm going to lose to him. And then he went into this line, and all of my fears immediately dissipated. I beat him with this line. Amazing story.
That's beautiful.
Thank you for the applause. Beautiful. Are you tearing up yet?
Yeah, that's one of those tearjerker moments right there. Did you checkmate him, or did he resign from that position?
I think I checkmated him. Usually kids at that level, they tend to play until checkmate. And by the way, I was going to ask, you've heard of the Queen's Gambit, right?
Yeah, of course.
Have you managed to watch it?
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Nice. I'm actually very happy to hear that. But another thing is the one very nitpicky asshole grandmaster criticism is people don't usually resign by putting their king down. People usually just resign by stopping the clock and extending your hand. Just so everybody knows. Like it's
My
a slightly
grandpa always taught me
cliche
the king thing.
What was that?
My grandpa taught me the king thing, so I thought that was common practice.
Yeah, well, it used to be like in the 1600s when you were growing up, but
Right.
anyways. Okay, so back to the game. Knight a5, queen f3, he blunders the bishop, right? And this is a blockade, right? You're blockading the pawn on d5, and h6 chasing it away, bishop e7. So again, when your opponent offers you a trade, when you are trading a piece, there should always be a good reason you can point to for why you're trading. And here, yes, you're up a piece, but you asked me a question earlier, do you always want to trade when you're up? If you have a queen trade, then usually that'll be a good idea, unless you're attacking. If you're attacking and you're up a piece and your opponent offers a queen trade, there's no reason necessarily to go out of your way and trade queens, right?
Okay.
But if your opponent offers a minor piece trade, knights or bishops, you don't have to freaking go to the edge of the world just to trade a knight. You can let him be the one. Here you trade because you open the f-pawn. So d takes e4, f5, opening up the file. And this was the critical moment, right? Queen e8, queen g6. Does this make sense now?
Yeah.
So queen e8, queen g6, applying pressure on the knight. By the way, if he plays knight takes d6, what piece do you take?
Do I take back with the bishop?
So you mean you take the knight?
Yeah.
If you were to take the knight, you would take with the bishop, correct. And then what move would you play to open up this bishop?
I just push the pawn.
Beautiful, e4. However, you have another possibility here. This simplifies the position and wins even more material. Try to calculate this out. And in the meantime, I have some news for you. Holy shit. Traxler, and his first name was Carol Traxler, was the first person to play the Traxler, and he played it in 1890, and then he played it again in 1896, and then the next person to play it was in 1931. So he literally had this all to himself for 50 years.
Wow,
And
big
he
man.
won both of the games that he played it in. Damn. This guy was pretty cool, I have to say.
His first name was Carol?
Karel, Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
Born in
Gotcha.
1866, died 1936, aged 84. He lived happily ever after playing the Traxler. Man, can you understand, Charlie? This guy was our age. He was 24 when he first developed this line that we're talking about today. I mean, these guys were giga chads, as I guess we say now. Is that how we talk now?
You need to have a line named after you, Daniel.
You know, it's funny because there's a couple of lines that I play more often than other GMs that I think are considered to be a little suspicious. Maybe one day I'll have the honor of having that.
I'll try and brainstorm some goofy shit for you to refine. It could be a team effort.
Oh, I'd love that. But back to this position. Sorry to distract you with that meaningless information. What move am I talking about here? The knight is not the only piece you can take.
Yeah, so I'm just taking the queen and trading, right?
But let's calculate. Bishop takes queen. Knight takes queen. What do you do there?
Then I'm taking rook with the bishop.
Exactly. And if he takes the bishop? With his king?
Then I'm just taking his knight.
Exactly. And what, for extra credit, bishop takes queen. Knight takes queen. Bishop takes rook. That knight on e8 takes c7, attacking your rook. How do you save both your rook and your bishop at the same time?
I just bring the rook over to e8. Oh, no, he still takes that. He takes that.
You're correct to bring the rook over somewhere, but your default question should be, can I attack the knight with a rook?
Yeah, okay. So I just bring it over to c8 then?
Exactly. And if we play the line on the board, what I was talking about, knight attacks rook, king attacks bishop. As I told you, first question, can I move one piece and either defend the other piece? Well, obviously bishop cannot defend rook cannot defend bishop. So the next best thing, to attack one of the attackers, rook a c.
Yeah.
Okay, there's more to this, but just wanted to get you to calculate a little bit. And basically at the end, you take with the bishop, and this is the key move, queen b6. This makes sense now, right?
Yeah.
Last thing, if he takes, then of course you take with the queen, and it's checkmate. If he plays king back to g1, there's a lot going on here. Can you actually checkmate me from this position? let this be our segue into the odds games.
Moving rook to g2 does not checkmate.
Yeah, you have to make a key observation about white's king and where it's sort of placed. Like, I can draw a particular arrow, and that might help you out.
Yeah, but it still wouldn't be checkmate, right? Like, if I move that rook... Oh, I'm...
Wait, not mate in one, by the way. Like, I'm not expecting you to deliver mate on the next move.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because that just can't happen, right? But I move
well,
rook...
I would expect Traxler to do that, but hey, you're not at that level of coolness, so you'll need a couple extra moves. We'll get there.
So do I start by just going g2 with the rook?
So the funny thing is, if you go to g2, that's a double check, which is good. The bad thing, and that's a fine move, but it delays the mating process because that king slides over to h1. If you move the rook anywhere but that square, this bishop is going to protect that square.
I'm just moving it back to like f4, or not f4, but like all the way back to like f6, then just get it out of the way.
But then he gets h2. So you have to move the rook so that the rook still controls the h2 square. Which means you have to keep it on the second rank.
But it's guarded everywhere. E2
so like
guarded by... Oh, because I'm delivering the check right now.
Discover check.
Right.
Remember the key concept. Discover check is the most powerful tactical tool in chess.
Okay.
And by the way, even if it wasn't mate, you'd be winning as queen.
Right.
But as it stands, it's just mate because he can throw a bunch of pieces at you. You take them all. So remember discover checks.
Got it. Okay.
This makes sense now, right? The bishop on e7, defending e4. Fantastic. Okay. So are you fine with an odds game or two? I feel like that's a good way to sort of recap some basic principles and also get you to feel bad about yourself, which is ultimately, my goal.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do a 15-minute game to start. Down a queen. Unless you want to do 10 minutes, but I think 15 minutes is good just for now because it gives me a chance to run off at the mouth. We'll do 15 plus 2. Okay, unrated. Definitely unrated. All right. Challenge 2.
If you did do rated and I won, would you go back down to like 1,000 elo?
Well, the thing is, I usually play blitz, and 15 minutes is considered rapid, I think, and I don't really play much formal rapid, so. But, the hit on my ego would be, insurmountable.
Yeah, you would never recover.
No,